Welcome to Films and Stuff with your hosts, Pete Mitchell and Ethan Hunt.
Hi, everybody. Welcome back to the Films and Stuff podcast. I'm Ethan, joined, as always, by most valuable Pete. Hey, Pete, what's up?
Not much, buddy. How are you?
Well, it is Saturday morning, and you know that means one thing only. It is time for our weekly stream or skip segment. At the risk of sounding like a broken record, I always introduce a segment with an extreme amount of enthusiasm. I turn the virtual microphone over to you, and you explain the rules, also known as the terms and conditions in legal parlance, to new listeners and existing listeners who may have forgotten what is stream or skip all about. So without further ado, my friend, please take a deep breath and give us the goods on what is stream or skip.
All right. Ethan and I have prepared lists of TV shows for each other to watch. Every week, we randomly assign each other one of those shows to watch. We watch at least 2 episodes if it's a series or 30 minutes if it's a feature-length program. And on that basis, we determine if that show is worthy of being streamed or skipped.
Sounds obvious in retrospect, but I'll say it again. That's why the episode is called Stream or Skip. Pete, we have been really pushing ourselves this year to try and find the hidden gems. I assigned you Dexter Resurrection from just pop culture generally, that Dexter is something of a cult following. It has a deep following, a strong following. It's got a lot going on. I've never watched Dexter, gotten into Dexter, but I know that kind of like the original Dexter ended. So now that there's a Dexter Resurrection, I wanted to put the burden on you to watch it, tell me if it's good, and more importantly, explain to me the Dexter universe.
Okay, let's see. Where do we start? We start like 15 years ago.
Okay.
Dexter it's not the first show that does this, but it was one of the first shows of let's say, the golden renaissance where the protagonist of the series isn't actually a good guy, right?
Oh.
So you have a little bit like Mad Men where John Hamm isn't a bad guy, but you can't call him a good guy either. Like he's morally questionable at best.
The anti-hero.
Anti-hero of a type. Then you have Breaking Bad, which was the same, right? Because on paper, not a bad guy, but at the end of the day, he's still a meth manufacturer and dealer.
Mm-hmm.
Dexter is about a sociopath played by Michael C. Hall, who is a blood/crime scene analyst for the Miami PD. And he moonlights as a serial killer, but a serial killer who's got his own code of ethics. So he doesn't just kill anybody and everybody. He kills bad guys. He kills violent offenders, rapists, all those kinds of, people who are really bad, who he wants to get justice with. It was a pretty fantastic show for 6 or 7 seasons. And then like Game of Thrones, the last season kind of went down the drain. It was just really bad.
Ugh.
And it was interesting because it's one of those shows where you have an inner monologue and he's kind of narrating his actions and things like that when the scenes are quiet. It's really nice. It was pretty good.
So you liked it?
I loved it. I thought Dexter was great. Again, until the last season where kind of things went off the rails. And it was criticized for being one of those shows which had great potential but was ruined by the ending. Fast forward 5 or 6 years after that, and they decide to do not a reboot, but like a sequel called Dexter New Blood, starring same again, Michael C. Hall. And this time it's in another place, and it's trying its best to rectify the poor critical reception of how the last series ended.
Is it immediately after, or is it one of those like 5 years later.
5 years later, kind of thing. That in general, not a fan of. You had a few returning characters in the original series. He had a son, and Dexter New Blood was about his son coming to find him. I didn't like Dexter New Blood. It was fine, but it was more of the same. It wasn't great. But I think overall, if I had to give it the rating, Dexter, the original series, was a must subscribe.
Okay.
Dexter New Blood was at best a mooch, but really was a skip.
Okay.
And then now we have Dexter Resurrection, which is again a direct sequel of Dexter New Blood.
Okay.
Now, at the end of Dexter New Blood, Dexter was supposed to have died, but clearly he didn't. They don't kind of retcon it, but they kind of do, if you get what I'm saying. Now the focus has shifted from Dexter to Dexter's son.
Okay.
They've moved for another new location. So the original series took place in Miami. Dexter New Blood took place in upstate New York. And Dexter Resurrection takes place in New York City.
So Dexter Resurrection is about Dexter's son, who presumably is also a sociopath.
Yes. Not the same way as Dexter, but yes, he has the same tendencies, which leads him to believe that maybe it's, genetic, that kind of thing, like
Got it.
nature versus nurture kind of leaning.
Is Michael C. Hall in it at all?
He is, and he plays a major role.
Oh, okay.
That's what I meant by saying that he was supposed to die at the end of the last series, but he doesn't. Frankly speaking, it's more of the same. I think Dexter was a must subscribe because it was a relatively new concept for the era that it was released in.
Yeah.
And now this is more of that same. And I personally have been like, okay, been there, done that, seen it. It's more of the same. It's more of somebody committing a murder, somebody cleaning up the crime scene, somebody trying to avoid being caught by the cops, immediately gets implicated by the cops, but then it gets a dance on how to get out of the fingers. You know what I mean? Like, it's a little bit of the same. I've seen it in Dexter. I've seen it in New Blood. And now I'm seeing it again. They're trying to change it up. Uma Thurman is in here, and she plays like a bad guy of some kind, or she plays like a contract killer of some kind. Look, I've seen 4 episodes. It's not bad. It's a little bit more modern than the original. It's a little bit more violent. It's a little bit more free with the blood. And I think that's more aligned to the current day situation. It's clearly more graphic and violent today because that's more accepted in society. So that's the only difference. But I think tonally, it's more or less the same. Do I think it's a must subscribe? Absolutely not. Is it bad? No. I think this is a good mooch. The problem is with this kind of show, for someone like you who hasn't seen any of Dexter before, it's going to be a skip
It
because
just kind of
there's a lot
jumps
of
into
baggage.
it, right? Yeah.
There's a lot of history, and some of the same characters are returning from the original series. You're not going to understand the nuance. At the very least, you have to have watched Dexter New Blood to understand the immediate characters of Resurrection.
How squeamish? Because I'm not like a big stabby guy.
Yeah.
Like I'm not squeamish over, I guess I should say, like anonymous killing, but I'm not really like a strangling, stabby kind of guy. How squeamish is this?
This isn't bad. It's okay.
No.
There are some elements which are a little bit like, oh my God, you see him plunge a knife into a guy's torso, blood going everywhere, but it's not overly gory. I would say on a gore factor of 10, where 10 is something like really bloody and like Texas Chainsaw Massacre style bloody.
Yeah.
I would say this is probably like a 5 or a 6.
Okay. So what's the hook for the show? Like, I get it when you say the original Dexter was kind of like the anti-hero, and he had like the internal dialogue with himself, and that probably at the time was very unique, right?
Exactly.
where's the hook for this show?
It's
Because
the same. It's exactly the same. That's the problem. And I think you've hit the nail on the head for me, which is to say, as someone who's seen Dexter before,
yeah,
this is just more of the same. So there's nothing new that's kind of very compelling. Now, if you've never seen Dexter before, I would actually recommend don't watch this show, watch the original Dexter series.
yeah. You know how like the old 80s sitcoms didn't really thread themes through them? Like you
Yeah,
could miss
that's
a
right.
week, you could pick it up the next week and kind of like you didn't really lose anything in
Yeah,
the order, right?
yeah.
How is Dexter? Like, is there recurring like a running theme and like we're trying to get somewhere with this series? Or is it just kind of like every episode it's a new police caper and a new bad guy that he's out to like?
So Dexter, conceptually, there's a
Mhm.
running theme, right? And the running theme, the overarching running theme is I'm a sociopath, I'm a serial
Yeah,
killer. I
yeah,
want to kill this guy who's committed a crime. Now, this guy is generally someone different every episode
yeah,
in the original series. In
yeah.
this one, it's slightly more not formulaic. It's slightly more episodic in the sense that he isn't killing someone different in every episode. He's still going after one or two different people.
There's a big bad.
There is a big bad.
Okay.
For me, this is a mooch. This is a show that I could kind of have on in the background. You can't not pay attention to it, but at the same time, you don't have to pay like super close attention to it.
Okay.
I think that if you were to watch this, I would suggest don't watch this. I would actually tell you to go watch the original Dexter series first because that
Okay.
was actually good. And then on that basis, if you really liked it, maybe then go watch New Blood and then Resurrection. I would say if you've never seen Dexter before, this is not the place to start.
Okay. So you've given this a mooch, but it's primarily based on the fact that you've got to have a little bit of Dexter
Exactly.
pre-existing. Got it. All right. Not bad. I had something that was self-assigned. I took a little bit of risk here because I've heard good things about it. The show I assigned myself is called The Protector. It's on Netflix. It is actually a Turkish TV series, and Turkish television, particularly in the Middle East, has, I think, a good reputation for some very deep and compelling storylines.
Yeah.
Usually we think of them as more romances or dramas,
Yeah.
but this is supposed to be kind of an action drama fantasy series. It was originally made in 2018 and there's 4 seasons. So it ended 2020. So it's a little bit aged, but I have to say it's aged well. It's in English and it's dubbed pretty well, I have to say, although most of the actors are Turkish. I thought that I was really going to like it. And frankly, the previews on Netflix looked pretty good. Spoiler alert, I did not. Double spoiler alert. I'm not sure I'm ready to give up on it because you know how you can kind of see that there's something there? And the fact that it's gone on for 4 seasons makes me think that maybe they got the formula right eventually. But having watched 3 episodes, it is not there yet. So,
Okay.
do you remember the movie? I know you remember the movie, Marvel movie. It's called Shen Z and the Seven Rings. What is this movie?
Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings.
Thank you. Pete, this is why I call you most valuable Pete. Yeah. But
Thank you.
as far as I remember that movie, he was an everyman who found out that some family member passed on these 10 rings that gave him these supernatural powers, right? Do I have that
Kind of.
generally? Okay. You could consider The Protector the same general storyline where we are introduced to a very charismatic young man in his early 20s who's a bit of a loser. He's kind of jobless, aimless. Everyone kind of likes him in the neighborhood. He's got a good rapport with everybody, but he's kind of fancied himself as an entrepreneur, and almost all his businesses have failed, be it photography or tourism or something or another. His dad is, this very traditional carpet or antique salesman in a very old Turkish souk. Our hero, Chaitai, He is trying to convince his dad, you've got to modernize and we should do it this way. We should take a bigger shop. We should sell online, so on and so forth. His dad wants nothing to do with it. And we see the main character just kind of, get himself in more and more trouble. There is let's call it a robbery, and his father is shot and dies. The son is devastated, but he is soon kind of rounded up by one of his father's close friends and the close friend's daughter. And what they basically reveal to our hero is that Chai Tai's father was a protector, and the protector had all these, fantastical responsibilities connected to like an ancient secret order. Their duty was to protect the city. There's something called the Immortal that they have to protect against to prevent the city's destruction, and they're trying to find and kill the Immortal. And now that the surrogate father has died, it falls on our hero, Chai Tai, to become the new protector. And he does this instead of wearing 10 rings on his forearm by wearing, let's call it a blouse. It's a fancy shirt, but it is, for the lack of a better word, a blouse. And once he wears a blouse, he becomes a protector. Super strength, speed, bulletproof, so on and so forth. Okay, there's a big bad. Of course, the big bad has a beautiful assistant, and our protagonist is enamored / wants to date, the assistant. So we kind of see where this is going to go, right? He's going to somehow be connected indirectly to the big bad. The show is not great, only because it's a little bit complicated in terms of all the different relationships. It has nothing to do with the language barrier. It has nothing to do with the acting. It has nothing to do with the characters. It's just kind of a lumpy storytelling where it kind of focuses very, 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 very deeply on like character building. And then it jumps like almost really quickly into a new topic and has like a big reveal that just like comes out of nowhere, right? So
Right.
I feel like it doesn't really flow in terms of like the script or the story. It's just kind of like set pieces that are somehow like stitched together.
Okay.
Again, it's 4 seasons, so maybe they've ironed this out a little bit, but at least at the beginning, I felt like it was kind of like jerking me around in terms of, okay, I'm really starting to understand the connection between the surrogate father and the son, or okay, I'm really starting to understand, where is the protector coming from and their duty. And then right away we hop to something else, like on a completely different topic, and then we've got to learn all about this. So I feel like the editing or the stitching is not very great. Story's okay. It's something, obviously, like I said, I mean, I compared it to this Marvel movie. It's not something that we haven't really seen before. The idolatry, can we say? Again, it's based kind of around this shirt that gives them the power and some other superpowers. Visually, it's not really like that amazing, but they do a very good job of trying to keep the fantastical or like this ancient secret order element consistent with like modern Istanbul. So for example, you don't see like all this CGI, the portal coming down and the earth, sucking everything up, 10,000 aliens, beaming down. It doesn't have that kind of like CGI impact to it. It's a little more practical in terms of, who is the immortal? What's he trying to do to take down the city? Why only the city is affected, not the world? I mean, it's more of a local story, but it's got something to it, but not enough for me to give it anything other than a skip right now. I can see why Netflix took this. I mean, for the Turkish market, I think it's probably pretty compelling, especially if you wanted to watch it in Turkish. The cast from a Turkish anthology perspective seemed to be quite well known and accomplished. But just as kind of like picking up a show to watch and getting into it, have not been able to do it. I'll probably give it one more episode just because I do feel there's something lurking underneath the surface. And it did run for 4 years, but as of now, I could not say in good faith this is anything other than a skip. So
Okay.
that is The Protector on Netflix has some Marvel elements to it, some fantasy drama elements to it, but not enough to kind of overcome a little bit of lumpy storytelling, I should say.
But I have to say, so you raise a good point. When you think of Middle Eastern television, I think primarily of like Egyptian and
Yeah.
Lebanese television, which is a little bit more soapy. It's a little
Yes.
bit more like
Yeah.
it's a little
Telemundo.
Indian style,
Yeah.
which is, like
Yeah.
overly dramatic, like dun
Right,
dun
right.
dun.
Yeah,
So this is,
exactly.
I think, the first time I've heard of a show which is a little bit more, I mean, serious is maybe an overstatement, but you know what I mean. Like
Yeah.
it's not in
Yeah.
that same vein.
Yeah. I have to say the acting is actually quite decent. The voiceovers are very good. I haven't had any issues with the voiceovers. In fact, I would almost think that they're kind of like recording it natively in English. It's been quite
Sure.
good. But again, it's not really. I agree with you. Like there's this, I think of it as like Telemundo, right? The
Yeah.
Mexican or Spanish TV. You're
Yeah.
right that a lot of these shows, they're overly dramatic and you have like these awkward pauses, with like someone lurking around a corner.
Yeah. With the zoom in and the
Yeah.
music.
Or their eyes are just kind of like doing something. This is not that. This is a proper action fighting show. I give it a lot of credit. I just feel like it's choppy and not really a compelling new storyline that I've not like kind of yawn.
Okay.
But the bar is high with us.
Yeah.
That being said, I am excited for what we have for ourselves
Oh,
next
yeah.
week. I've given myself Butterfly. Butterfly is on Amazon Prime. Technically, it's a Korean drama, but it is the Korean Citadel.
Ooh, okay.
Not officially Citadel. Even though it's a Korean drama, it is originally filmed in English. And that's because a lot of it takes place outside of Korea. It's an international spy ring. It's supposed to be quite good. So I've assigned myself Butterfly, Amazon Prime. And again, Amazon did have Citadel. So it's kind of not a surprise that maybe they've done some crossover with this as well.
Sure.
Now, tell us what you've got.
I know we normally randomly assign, but I chose this for
Yep.
myself this week.
Yep.
Alien Earth. I am dying to watch this show. So it's an FX show, which means it's on Hulu.
So just like I asked you early in the episode to explain to me the Dexter universe, my God, Alien is like how many years of Alien now? Help me understand this, where this fits in and everything.
So I don't know yet. My understanding is that this is supposed to be, in terms of the timeline, the first.
Oh,
So in terms of chronological timeline in the alien mythology, this is supposed to be the first one, not counting all the Predator versus Alien movies where the Predator and the aliens were back on Earth in like prehistoric times.
this is pre-Sigourney Weaver?
Supposedly, this is pre-Sigourney Weaver.
Alien came out in 1979.
So, yeah, that's right.
So you're saying that this new one is technically the prequel to this?
So that's what I've heard. Now, I don't know, but this is why I'm excited. A, if it's the first, I'm super excited because I want to see all about Wayland Yutani. And B, I read one review. Well, not the review, but I read the headline of the review, and it simply
Yeah.
said, this is to the Alien franchise as to what Andor was to the Star Wars.
Whoa, someone wrote that?
Yeah, which means that if this is anything like Andor, I am 100% in. Like, I'm super excited.
Ooh.
I am not a fan, as most listeners will know, of horror movies, but the two franchises that I make exception for are the Predator universe and the Alien universe. I like both of them.
Definitely. I can't wait for next week.
Oh, yeah.
When you give us an update of this.
Absolutely.
Pete, before we sign off for the week and we go do our respective homeworks, can you give our listeners our YouTube creds so that they can tell us what they liked, didn't like, if they agree, disagree, if they want to see more The Protector, more Dexter Resurrection, or if they've got any ideas about Alien Earth and Butterfly coming up?
All right, leave a comment below, like this video, subscribe to our channel, and don't forget to hit that notification bell.
Could not have said it better myself. Pete, thank you for joining us on this Saturday morning, giving us your review, your thoughts. Listeners, thank you for tuning in. Stay with us next week, next episode, Films and Stuff podcast. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, Ethan. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you for listening to another episode of Films and Stuff. If you haven't already, please subscribe and review on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever podcasts are downloaded. Films and Stuff. There is no substitute.